Hey, hockey fans, welcome to Goal Line Hockey. As we're going to continue the season outlook series today, as we take a look at the Toronto Maple Leafs. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and a subscribe. Let's talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs. Alright, so the Toronto Maple Leafs, a team that coming to the season last July signs John Tavares, and people are already saying Toronto's going to win the Cup. They're going to be a true contender, planning their parade already, and a first round exit again in 7 games to the Boston Bruins. What does this Toronto team have to do to either avoid the Boston Bruins or beat the Boston Bruins? I feel like the best thing really is to beat the Boston Bruins. I think next year, this is one of those things, right? We saw the Washington Capitals slay their dragon with the Pittsburgh Penguins and go on to win the Stanley Cup. I feel like Toronto is in that same sort of situation. And they may not win the Cup next year. They may not win the Cup the year after that. I think it'll be one of the last years of Austin Matthews, big contract. I think that's where we're going to see Toronto be a true contender because he's become more experienced at that point. He's learned more of the playoff style. And, to be completely honest, I don't like their defense right now. And I think a first year, Timothy Liljegren or a still developing Travis Dermott or Trevor Moore, there's still a lot more that we need to see out of those defensemen. I think some of the first, Kyle Rosen, they're going to be first year defensemen, and I believe they're going to struggle during the regular season, let alone the playoffs next year. And I think potential-wise and skill-wise, Toronto's defense will be better next year. But I think the results overall are going to be a little bit worse with their defense. Now, let's talk about what the Leafs need to do. So, as I just mentioned, Toronto's defense has been known to be a sore point for this team. They need upgrades to the defense. Now, whether they do that in-house or in free agency is a different story. They really don't have the option of going out in free agency, to be completely honest, because you have to sign Mitch Marner. You have to sign, a couple of guys coming up the next couple of years. You really can't afford to throw money at a defenseman when you've got guys like Liljegren and Dermott and Rosen in the American Hockey League, and right now they're playing in the Eastern Conference Finals, the Toronto Marlies. So those defensemen are playing pretty well down there. I would expect them to play at some point next season. Aside from that, they have to find a capable backup, and I'm not sure what they're going to do about this because Garrett Sparks was re-signed toward the end of the season, and to much to the dismay of the Toronto Maple Leafs fans and media, they were not happy about him coming back, and I don't believe Mike Babcock was too happy about that either, and we'll talk about Babcock in a minute too. And then another thing, they have to add more size to this team. They have to be tougher to play against, and I think it's crazy that we're talking about this again, that for a while people were saying that game's going away, they're not playing, the big rough style of hockey. But the problem is all it takes is one team to do that. And you have all these little skilled teams and then the one very good structured team with big guys that are really a pain to deal with. And that's the team that ends up winning because you have no way of handling that situation. So I feel like Toronto had that problem in the series against the Boston Bruins. Nazem Kadri getting suspended, and we'll talk about Kadri moving forward in a minute. So I think I think guys like Tyler Ennis are going to go. He's probably going to make a lot of money this summer. He had a really good year for the Leafs, and I don't expect the Leafs to re-sign him. They'll probably find someone on the cheap this summer, and more notably a guy maybe with some leadership. They need a little bit more of that, I feel. And they need someone that's hard to play against. A tough, gritty guy. I think Hyman was really highlighted in the playoffs in that first round against the Boston Bruins because he was really one of the only forwards that could really play that game. And I think he made an impact. He had a torn ACL or something like that, so he was dealing with a lot, and he was still one of the better players because of the way he plays. And I think that was highlighted in that first round. I really liked Zach Hyman. Definitely a really important piece of that team. Plays, he kills penalties. He scores goals here and there. Definitely not a prolific goal scorer, but he does here and there get some goals, and Toronto needs that depth scoring moving forward. Speaking about moving forward, let's talk about some rumors. So, Mitch Marner has to be re-signed. And I just saw something the other day that, take this for whatever you will, but there was a rumor that the Rangers would be willing to, try and qualify an offer to Mitch Marner. And the Rangers have the money, and that's the scary thing. They have the money there. And now Jeff Gorton, we haven't seen him make any big splash moves like this. Probably the biggest move they've made, in the last while was signing Kevin Shattenkirk, and look where that is right now. So, and something that I saw the other day as well with the Rangers was Ryan Strome may be bought out. So is that to make more room for a huge Marner contract? I don't know. But it's something at the very least to consider. But let's talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs. So, Mike Babcock, as I mentioned earlier, he wasn't too happy with Kyle Dubas and the decisions he made at the deadline, and was kind of bashing him even at the the locker cleanout press conference. He was just very not accepting any blame for the way things turned out for the Maple Leafs this season. And being the highest paid coach in the NHL, you would expect him to maybe deflect a little bit of the blame on himself. He didn't do any of that. So that's something to look at moving forward. And the rumors, obviously guys like Jay Gardner could return. I find that to be a load of baloney. I don't think he's coming back to Toronto. And not a knock on Toronto fans, but I feel like the way they treated him, he's not coming back. So, enough said. I'm an Islander fan. You know how I feel about Toronto. Okay, so my thoughts on next year. They have to get to the second round. Whether that's beating Boston or Buffalo or Florida or Tampa, whatever it is, Toronto has to get to the second round. There's no more. You can't accept these first round exits year after year. This is really an important time for Toronto. They're moving forward. Everybody's happy they're making the playoffs again. But now you got to start showing up and really, getting the ball rolling and get some success in the playoffs. And this is another, Boston, Toronto. We've seen it a couple years in a row now. But can Toronto bounce back? Are they going to be able to? And the big addition this year was, we have John Tavares now. We'll beat Boston in that seventh game. It wasn't enough. And another rumor I was just thinking up is, Nazem Kadri has been rumored. He's got a really good cap hit. He's a really good second-line center. Could play third like he has this season in Toronto. Really didn't fit well on that third line. He has suspension issues, so it's going to be interesting to see what his value is, what he maybe gets dealt for. I'm going to assume he gets dealt because, like I mentioned, you have to sign Marner. Toronto fans don't want to hear it, but it doesn't get any better. You still have to sign Frederik Andersen again coming up in the next couple of years. So this is going to be tough for the Maple Leafs. So I think I wouldn't be shocked if Nazem Kadri was moved. Okay, guys. So thank you for watching us here at Goal Line Hockey. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and a subscribe. And what do the Toronto Maple Leafs have to do moving forward? They've got the core of forwards. You've got, Matthews, Tavares, Marner at this point. Even if Nylander pots in 20 or 30 goals next season, if he gets 40, 50 points, anything better than he had this season, I think Toronto will be successful once again. The only thing I'm a little bit more concerned about is how the defense looks next year with young guys more than likely being in the lineup. I'm not sure what Dubas is going to do with Liljegren and Rosen, but I assume they're going to be in the lineup next year. So, thank you for watching, and have a good day.